Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite esthetician again. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Amaka and today we're talking about kojic acid for hyperpigmentation. If you're interested in this, please keep on watching. Oh, kojic acid. I'm sure most of you have heard of, that ingredient. But today we're going to be dissecting it, how it works, if it's good for you, what are the benefits, the pros, the cons, everything. So kojic acid is derived from fermentation of certain foods like rice and soybean. Kojic acid has various functions in the skin. It's multifunctional. However, the core function of kojic acid, why it is out there, why people seek after it, because of its role in addressing hyperpigmentation. So kojic acid fights hyperpigmentation by inhibiting tyrosinase or restricting or calming down the activities of tyrosinase. I have a full-blown video on tyrosinase, melanogenesis, hyperpigmentation. But as a recap, hyperpigmentation essentially means excess production of melanin, and the enzyme in our skin that produces melanin is tyrosinase. So if you are able to calm down the activities of tyrosinase, you calm down or reduce melanin production. Kojic acid reduces or calms down the activities of tyrosinase. It is a tyrosinase inhibitor. You get me? Kojic acid is also an antioxidant. It helps to fight free radicals. It helps to mop up free radicals. Free radicals is your enemy. It causes inflammation, destroys DNA of your skin. I have a video again on antioxidants and free radicals. I'll put a link above as usual. So kojic acid is an antioxidant. Kojic acid is also anti-inflammatory, so it calms down inflammation. And for that reason, because it's an antioxidant, it helps to mop up free radicals, and it's also anti-inflammatory, reduces inflammation. You can say that it has some anti-aging properties. One of the causes of premature aging is free radicals and inflammation. I have a video that touches on aging substantially, and I'll put the link again. But it's not a video on anti-aging per se, it's a video on retinoids. But I went in details as to how we age and why we age. Kojic acid is also antibacterial, and because it's anti-inflammatory and antibacterial, it can also help fight acne. Remember, I have a video on acne and how acne is formed, but two very important components in the formation of acne is the bacterial element and inflammation. Kojic acid is antibacterial and anti-inflammatory, so it can help, assist, support the fight of acne, but it's not a primary ingredient. I have a video on the best and the worst ingredients for acne. We want to check that out as well. Lastly, kojic acid is photoprotective, so it can help protect you from some of the damages from the sun. It is not a sunscreen. It's not a replacement of a sunscreen. It just has some photoprotective characteristics or features. Do you understand? And the good thing about kojic acid, why is in your face, is that it is a decent enough alternative to hydroquinone. Now, hydroquinone is the gold standard. There is none like it. Listen to me. There is none like it when it comes to hyperpigmentation. But it's not without its, ups and downs. There are a lot of side effects. Some people do not want to use hydroquinone. So kojic acid is a decent alternative to it. So if you are somebody that cannot tolerate hydroquinone, because hydroquinone can be very sensitizing. If you're someone that do not want to use hydroquinone, if you're somebody that do not have accessibility to hydroquinone, because in some countries and jurisdictions, hydroquinone is banned, and if you're somebody that is in your off periods of hydroquinone, because hydroquinone, you're not supposed to use it for a long stretch of time. You're supposed to take breaks in between, and during those breaks, you are advised to use other lightening, ingredients to maintain the results from the hydroquinone. Otherwise, you might just go back to square one. So if you are someone that you are on a hydroquinone regimen and you are on your off period, you can use kojic acid or products with kojic acid as a supplement during those breaks. So we talked about the functions of kojic acid. Now let's talk about the possible side effects. Now, it doesn't have the type of scary and permanent side effects that hydroquinone could have, but it does have its own. It gets its own for body, essentially. So kojic acid can be very irritating. So it can lead to something called contact dermatitis. Contact dermatitis means dermatitis as a result of contact with something. So you know how you use a product and you develop rashes? Yes, you could experience that. So it is irritating and can cause contact dermatitis. But it's nothing to be afraid of. If you experience it, just stop and it will go. Then secondly, it is very unstable and finicky to formulate with. So if you are not careful, it oxidizes and becomes brown and less effective. So for this reason, I personally prefer using kojic acid products in an opaque container and in an airless packaging, so that you limit or restrict the amount of air that enters the product, because when it's exposed to air, it oxidizes and becomes less effective. Because it oxidizes and it can be very unstable, some manufacturers, some cosmetic scientists prefer to formulate with something called kojic dipalmitate, which is a derivative of kojic acid. It is a lot stable, and some people say it is less irritating. Now, the only issue is there's not a lot of research that shows that it is as effective as kojic acid. So just have that in mind if you are opting for products with kojic dipalmitate. Personally, I advise you try a product with kojic acid, and if it is too irritating for you, then you could opt for a product with kojic dipalmitate. Also, for kojic acid, it's advisable, because of how irritating it can be, it's advisable not to exceed 1% in a cosmetic formulation. At 1%, it is very effective. In most formulations, you see 1%. That is the advisable concentration. Higher percentages do not mean more effective. Also, for an ingredient like kojic acid, higher percentages may just lead to more irritation. Do you understand? And also, one possible side effect from kojic acid is hyperpigmentation. If you use kojic acid at really high concentrations, can lead to hyperpigmentation, which is the reverse or the opposite of what you are trying to address. So we now know the functions of kojic acid, how it is formed, and possible side effects. Now, so here are some key things you should have in mind when opting to use products with kojic acid for hyperpigmentation. Now, the first thing is that kojic acid is not a cure per se. Like, honestly, most hyperpigmentation ingredients just manage the disease or the, let's say, disorder. Do you understand? Because especially if you are black, your melanocytes are constantly active. Tyrosinase is constantly active. There is no cure per se. Even if you address hyperpigmentation today, once the tyrosinase is triggered, it will produce excess melanin. Do you understand? So it's advisable to just have, especially if you're black and prone to hyperpigmentation, it's advisable to always have ingredients that, calm down tyrosinase activities in your routine. Now, the good thing about kojic acid, unlike hydroquinone, is that it can be used for a long period of time. You don't have side effects from prolonged use. Do you understand? So if you use kojic acid and you see visible difference and you stop, there's a possibility that your hyperpigmentation will come back. And it's not necessarily because of kojic acid. It is common with most ingredients that fight hyperpigmentation, especially if the cause is still there. For example, if your hyperpigmentation was as a result of sun exposure, and after you see visible difference, you still expose yourself to the sun, it will come back. Do you get? So whether or not it will be a permanent cure would be determined by the type of hyperpigmentation that you have and if the cause is consistent. Another thing you should bear in mind is kojic acid, like with other and most hyperpigmentation ingredients, is more stable when combined with other brightening ingredients. For example, kojic acid and hydroquinone has been shown to be very effective in controlling and managing hyperpigmentation. Also, kojic acid and glycolic acid is another combination that has been shown to be very effective in, managing and addressing hyperpigmentation. And it makes a whole lot of sense because glycolic acid exfoliates the skin, and by exfoliating the skin, we allow the kojic acid penetrate better and get to work. And lastly, kojic acid is a very small molecule. It doesn't have a problem penetrating the skin. It penetrates the skin fairly easily. So yeah, so I think we've covered everything on kojic acid. If you have video ideas for me, if you have particular topics that you want me to touch on, please leave them in the comment section. I would love to address them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.